Another day, another entry into a fantasy spin contest. And today, for some baseball action on this fine Thursday, May 8th, brought in James Grande. You can find him over on X at _real_Grande. And James, for the main event over on Fantasy Spin, $5 entry, $200 prize pool. First place can win $74. We got 4 games on the docket, including Steinbrenner Field. We got a couple of aces going in different matchups with Luzardo and Yamamoto, and Chris Bassett's going for Toronto. So we got 4 games here. Overall thoughts kind of these 4 games. Who are we hoping for in these spins? Who are the standout guys?
Yeah, you'll never, ever hear me say a bad word about Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I think going into the year, he was my pick as when we were told to be bold on the Fantasy Alarm bold predictions. I felt like nobody was bold enough, and except me, of course. But I did go with Yamamoto. I don't know how bold that is, but it is a really tough matchup. Obviously, Arizona's been basically top 3 against right-handed pitching in every major category: OPS, isolated power, and WOBA. So that's a tough spot. Luzardo looks great because Tampa Bay plays all of its bad players against left-handed pitching and all of its good players against right-handed pitching. And last I checked, Jesus Luzardo has yet to have his Billy Wagner moment where he switches his throwing hands halfway through his life, and he throws lefty. So, obviously just from that perspective, I love Luzardo and I love the Yamamoto talent. So hopefully we can get one of those two on the hill here. And obviously, like when it comes to the bats, I mean, there's some good pitchers. I'd be remiss to mention Schwellenbach in that upper echelon of pitching as well. But Ryan Pepio hasn't looked great. There's obviously some big time Philly bats in Yankee Stadium Junior down there in Florida. Jose Soriano opened the year really good, has not looked like the same pitcher he did against Detroit, but there has been road bumps for sure. So, getting some Toronto bats in that ballpark that is very conducive to home runs. The Angels have been one of the best home run hitting parks in the league. So hopefully we get some bats for in that game as well.
And while we do have Steinbrenner Field where, offense is generally kind of played up a little bit, Rays, like you said, have been bad against left-handed pitching. So I like Luzardo. I think when we talk about the bats, we actually didn't get any here. So maybe I'll hold off on talking about some Dodger lefties here. But of the ones here that I see, I know Schwellenbach's been pretty good, but I think whenever you get Ellie De La Cruz, especially with the stolen base upside, I think you almost have to lock him in. Yep. Other than that, I think Ellie Cruz is one of the kind of the better, more dynamic players across the board. So is Ellie De La Cruz going to be our shortstop here?
Yep.
Okay. And then as we kind of look from there, I don't really care for Chandler Simpson against a lefty.
Nope.
I do like Alejandro Kirk. I've had him the past couple of nights, but it's kind of just a lot of more death by 1,000 cuts with him. We haven't quite seen the pop and the power yet with him.
Yeah, and I think that there's probably options we hope to land on. Will Smith is an option. Sean Murphy has been awesome since returning. So I feel like those would be the 2 that we'd hope to spin.
What about a guy like Bryson Stott going up against a righty?
Yeah, I have loved the new lineup for Philadelphia, where they have shifted everything around. They moved Schwarber down to 4th. They've moved Stott up to the leadoff hole, and put Trey Turner in that 2 hole. I've loved the upside that Stott has provided there because, he's basically been a steals guy and that's it. And we finally have seen the bat come around. I know he's in the midst of like a little slump, but since he's looked like a different player since moving up to leadoff hole. So I do like Bryson Stott. And I guess like, who else would we hope for? Ozzie Albies gets a lefty. Death taxes Ozzie Albies against lefties here, Colby. Like that's usually a spot that I would hope to land on. Not a Towinator spot. Obviously, he gets Yamamoto. That's tough, but it's a great nickname. McLean. I mean, it's Stott or Albies, and we landed on one of those two. So
But I do like holding out hope for
I
Albie.
know the holding out hope for Albies is obviously because, again, he is just, there's historical data, and then there's just what Ozzy Albies has always done against lefties, and he hasn't had a bad season against them. It's always been plus against lefties.
Yeah. And I mean, over the last 7 days for him too, 400 slug isn't too shabby.
Not
and you
bad.
get him on the better side of his split. So
Not bad.
let's go ahead and throw it back. Let's hope for Albie's there at that second base spot and maybe get one of our arms. Basically, from what you and I have talked about here, we've essentially come down to it's basically what? Schwellenbach, Yamamoto, Luzardo.
Yep.
We're going for one of those three. That's pretty much what you want. Since he really hasn't been good this year offensively, and they're away from Great American Small Park, having to go to Truist. So we did get Schwellenbach, who's one of our three that we kind of mentioned. We do have 3 spins left. Do we hold out hope for Luzardo or Yamamoto, or do we take what we have with Schwellenbach?
Oh, well, we don't want Pepio.
Mm-mm.
We don't want
Soriano.
Schwellenbach.
I don't want Brandon Pfaadt.
No, he'll fight for us, but not good enough. I mean, Schwellenbach and the Braves are sizable home favorites.
Mm-hmm.
He is an elite pitcher. I'm good with just locking it, especially with only 3 spins left. I think that's probably where we go.
Yeah, and we have Ellie De La Cruz, but I mean, you can have Ellie De La Cruz as a good fantasy day for us, and Schwellenbach gets us a ton of points. It very well can happen.
Right.
So I'm good with Schwellenbach. I do get my lefties here for the Dodgers that I want to talk about. Brandon Pfaadt has been a little bit better this year against lefties. I will give him credit. But I know last year when it was Brandon Pfaadt day, it was you load up those lefties. Now, Conforto only has about 3 more hits than you and I do on the entire season. And Muncy's at least been a little bit better of late in terms of some points there, as we're seeing here. But these aren't the ideal LA left-handed bats that we've gotten. But do either of these guys, and probably more so Muncy than Conforto, do either of these guys do it for you?
Man. I mean, there's some good third basemen that we can choose from. I don't think so, because I think the likelihood of us potentially landing on a Riley, Caminero, Yandy Diaz, even Alec Boehm is better for us. Like if we land on Yoan Moncada, GG, go next. We'll, we tried, but Muncy's floor this year has been horrible. And Conforto, you just said it. I mean, what? I'd take anything else but Michael Conforto at this point.
Last 6 games for Muncy, I'm looking at it here. 100 batting average with 8 strikeouts and 20 at bats, and Conforto's at a 0.56 average with 9 strikeouts and 18 at bats.
We can pretend like they don't exist and just move on.
Fair enough. Castellanos down there going against Pepio. Anything to do with Castellanos at Steinbrenner Field?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I also think, from where Pepio was right out of the chute, he's not that anymore. I think he's been fine. But the ballpark is obviously scary. The home runs have been a big issue for Ryan Pepio. He's already allowed 8 home runs this year. This is not the ballpark you have a home run issue in, right? There's a few around baseball. This is not one of them. Because it's Yankee Stadium with warm weather and humidity 24/7. Like it's just, so I like Castellanos, and hopefully we can maybe get some more Philly to pair with him. I know he's historically better against lefties, but in this ballpark, I'd be really willing to give anything Philly a shot.
Yep, he's got 545 slug over his last 22 at bats as well. I think the main guy that I'm really hoping for now at this point is Freddie Freeman. Just guys hitting the absolute cover off of the baseball, and he does hide from us there. But we do get our boy Ozzy Albies against a lefty.
Yep.
We are going to lock him in here.
Yep.
Easy. Love Jonathan Aranda, however you say it, but preferably not with a lefty.
No.
I'd like it more with righty. We do get Alec Boehm there. I mean, there's nothing saying we don't do a little mini stack here with Phillies with Castellanos and Boehm.
I am definitely intrigued by anything Philly in that ballpark. We saw it on the Wednesday slate. They put up a crooked number and got to a good pitcher. And whether or not you think that's what Ryan Pepio is, he has too many fly balls to not exploit in that small ballpark.
Yeah, unfortunately, as we're going through this too, I don't think there's any significant wind anywhere in these 4 games, or weather really is much of an impact there. We didn't touch on that earlier, but it's nothing really to note. So catcher, first base, outfield, really hoping for Freddie Freeman sooner rather than later.
It is 85, Colby. If there's anything floor in Tampa, it is 85 degrees. Like the ball is going to carry in that ballpark.
Good luck, Mr. Pepio, in that start. So we're down to 1 spin left. We do have 1 lock if we want to preserve any of these guys here. I actually like Chris Bassett tonight going against the Angels. I also kind of like any pitcher going against the Angels at this point. Yeah. So not really looking to Ward or Nolan there, but Alejandro Kirk comes back up. I mean, at this point, there's better options I think that we can go with. We might as well just go a little last spin magic and hope for, like, I don't know, Andy Pages, Freddie Freeman, and Will Smith, and just give us a Dodger stack.
Yep. Agreed.
So let's give it the last spin. We don't get,
we got the same thing. Same thing plus Murphy.
All right. So now pretty much if you look at the lineup that we have here, we got a couple Braves with Albies and Murphy. We actually end up having now 2 Reds against Schwellenbach, but again, doesn't necessarily have to be, they can be productive, and Schwellenbach can get us the win and be just fine. And then we got the mini stack with the Phillies, and then good old standalone Taylor Ward.
Yeah, the Taylor Ward piece doesn't feel great. He's been quite bad, and he strikes out a lot. But he does have power, right? There is one thing there. He can hit us a home run. Even though Chris Bassett has not allowed a lot of home runs this year. I think just 1. But again, a historical data would tell you lefties is what you want against Chris Bassett. That is not what Taylor Ward is. So, but it's a solid lineup through and through.
Listen, if there's any silver lining here, Taylor Ward's 184 batting average is better than his 158 batting average against lefties.
It was better than Michael Conforto, and it was better than Matt. Who else did we have in the? No, we had Taylor Ward last spin too. Never mind.
Yeah. No. Taylor Ward on the final spin is better than Taylor Ward with 1 spin left.
Agreed. Totally agree. Taylor Ward would even tell you that.
That's how it works. But there is still plenty of room in the main event contest. Again, it's a $200 prize pool, and I believe it is $74-ish to first place. So make sure you head over to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Download the FantasySpin app today so you can join the fun and spin to win. And, of course, you can follow me over on X at Colby R. Conway. Give James Grande a follow as well at _real_Grande. Best of luck in the contest as you spin to win. And once again, head over to Google Play or Apple App Store. Download the FantasySpin app today so you can spin to win and experience the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. We will see you on the leaderboard.